Hello, in this video we will discuss the 2015 GCE Ordinary Level Mathematics Paper Part A. The first question, we have to express 2000 meters in kilometers. In order to convert meters to kilometers would be to divide by 1000. We divide 2000 meters by 1000. The answer for this would be equal to 2. For question number 2, we have to solve 5x equals 20. What we need to do is to divide both sides by 5. This is to isolate x or make x the subject of the equation. We can proceed by dividing both sides by 5. 5 cancels on the left hand side and we are left with x. And on the right hand side we have 20 divided by 5, that will be equal to 4. This is your answer to question number 2. For question number 3, we need to simplify 5a multiplied by a square. You need to understand according to the rules of exponents, we have the same base with multiplication in between. We need to add the powers. So what happens here is 5 will remain unchanged. You simply need to rewrite it. First power is 1 and the second power is 2. You need to add them up. This will give the answer as 5a to the power of 3. This is the answer to question number 3. Question number 4, we need to find 60% of 20 rupees. Firstly, you should represent 60% as a fraction. That will be 60 over 100. In math, we generally refer off as multiplication and we write the monetary value. In this case, it will be 20. You can work out the math here. The zeros would cancel and then you're left with 6 over 1 multiplied by 2. Hence your answer for this question would be 12 rupees. Make sure when you write the answer, you should write it with the units. In question number 5, we have set A, which includes the integer multiples of 2. Integers are whole numbers. It can be positive or it can be negative. However, it cannot be fractions or decimals. Set B is defined as integer multiples of 3. It asks you to write down one element, single element of A intersection B. According to the set notation here, A intersection B refers to A and B. So the easiest would be to find the LCM of 2 and 3 as they are both integers. I would multiply 2 by 3 to get the answer as 6. This is your answer to question number 5. In question number 6, we need to write down 101 base of 2. What we need to do is consider from right to left. We start from the right and we shift to the left. Considering the rightmost digit, we have 1 multiplied by 2 to the power of 0. You start off with 2 to the power of 0, then you increase your power. Moving on to the second digit, we've got 0 multiplied by 2 to the power of 1, and for the third digit from right to left we have 1 multiplied by 2 to the power of 2. Any base other than 0 to the power of 0 should give you 1. Hence in this case we got 1 multiplied by 1. As for the second digit from right to left, we got 0 because 0 multiplied by any base would give you 0. The third digit we have 1 multiplied by 2 squared, so you can follow BIDMAS, PEMDAS, PEDMAS, etc. We first need to calculate the exponent, that's 2 to the power of 2, that gives you 4. Hence we have 1 multiplied by 4. You work out these values, you get a total of 5. This is your answer for question number 6. Question number 7, we need to make P the subject. PQ minus R equals U. The first step in order to make P the subject would be to get rid of R. So you could add R to both sides of the equation. Q equals U plus R. The next and final step, you can simply divide both sides by Q. Q would cancel off and now you would have P. P equals U plus R divided by Q. This is your answer. For question number 8, we need to find the value of log 9 3. In order to simplify this, you need to understand that 9 is simply equal to 3 to the power of 2. Hence your new log would change to log base 3 is now replaced as 3 to the power of 2. For the next step, using the power law, we can bring the 2 as the coefficient of log. Hence it would now become 2 multiplied by log 3 3. When you have the same numbers here, a log would become 1. Hence your value would be 2 multiplied by 1, which means the answer to question number 8 would be equal to 2. The formula that you need to use in question number 9 is related to physics. We can simply use time equals distance divided by velocity. The distance in here would be 25 kilometers. You need to divide this by your velocity of 100 kilometers per hour. When you simplify the numerator and the denominator, it becomes 1/4, which would be equal to 0.25 hours. This is a brief explanation as to how you get hours as the units. Distance is given as kilometers divided by, which means you can write this as kilometers per hour. This means we can write kilometers divided by kilometers divided by hour. We can use reciprocal for the fraction here. Hence we have kilometers multiplied by hours over kilometers. Kilometers would cancel, hence your answer should be represented as hours. For question number 10, the sum of two interior angles of a triangle is 100. Write down the magnitude of the remaining interior angle in degrees. The sum of all three angles should be equal to 180 degrees. You can consider 100 plus the unknown angle, we can consider it as x, equals 80 degrees. Isolate x, we can subtract 100 from both sides, which means we have 180 minus 100. Hence the answer would be equal to 80 degrees. For question number 11, it says the profit made by a trading company on Sunday is 20% more than the profit made on Monday. If the profit on Monday is 8,000 rupees, then find the profit on Sunday. So the two consecutive days are Sunday and Monday, and the profit made on Monday is 8,000 rupees. According to the question, you need to understand the profit made on Sunday is 20% more than that made on Monday. The answer that you find for Sunday should be higher than 8,000 rupees. In order to find this value, we need to increase 8,000 by 20%. And write 8,000 multiplied by, in this case it's an increment, hence 100 plus 20 over, as a percentage you should divide it by 100. 8,000 multiplied by 120 over 100. In order to evaluate this, you can cancel off the zeros, and 800 multiplied by 12 would be equal to 9,600. This is your answer in rupees. For question number 12, we need to find the least common multiple of the two algebraic expressions x, x plus 2 and x squared. Firstly, we can write the highest powers from the two algebraic expressions. Consider x and x squared. The highest power would be x squared, and x plus 2 would appear once. Hence, your least common multiple of both algebraic expressions would be x squared, x plus 2. Question number 13, we have to find the factors of x squared plus 3x minus 10. The two factors should multiply to give negative 10, and they should add up to give plus 3. I'm going to consider 5 and 2, with 5 being positive and 2 being negative. When you add them up, you get positive 3 plus 5 minus 2 equals plus 3, and when you multiply them you should get negative 10. So I can now write the factors as x plus 5 and x minus 2. This will be your answer. For question number 14, we have two events A and B that are mutually exclusive. The individual probabilities are equal. Probability of A and probability of B equals 1 over 5. We need to find the probability of A union B complement. In order to understand this, I would draw a Venn diagram. According to the question, we need to find A union B complement. If I shade the required region, it should be outside the two sets. As shown on the Venn diagram, you should consider the region outside of the two sets of A and B. Individual probabilities add up to 2 over 5. In order to find our answer, we need to subtract 2 over 5 from 1. 5 minus 2 over 5, which is equal to 3 over 5. And this would be your answer for question number 14. In question 15, it says, the first 500,000 rupees of the annual income of a person is free of income tax, and the next 500,000 is subjected to 4% income tax. Find the income tax that should be paid by a person who earns an annual income of 600,000. In this case, we have an annual income of 600,000. You need to keep in mind that the first 500,000 is free of income tax. Let's separate the 600,000 into 500,000 and 100,000. You need to understand that the first 500,000 is free of income tax, so you do not have to be worried about this amount, but you need to focus on the remaining value of 100,000. This is subjected to income tax of 4%. Find 4% of 100,000. 100,000 multiplied by 4% as a fraction would be 4 over 100. The value to be paid as income tax would be 4, and the remaining zeros, that will be 4,000. Sum of 4,000 rupees is subjected for income tax if a person earns an annual income of 600,000. Remember, the first 500,000 is not accountable for income tax as the question mentions. The balance of 100,000 will be subjected to income tax. Question 16 says, a bank pays an annual compound interest rate of 10%. Find the total amount of money at the end of 2 years in an account open with a deposit of 100 rupees in this bank. This question, you need to understand the principal amount of 100 rupees is subjected to a compound interest rate of 10%, and using a formula we will find the compounded rate after 2 years. F dot V in this case is your future value, which will be the number accumulated in the future after time period of T. P dot V in this case is your present value, or you can say the principal value, or in this case you can consider it as the deposit amount. I in the formula is your interest rate, which is represented as a percentage, and T in this case would be your time frame. Let's now apply this formula to the question. We have to find the future value, which I will write it as F dot V. The present value would be a sum of 100 rupees. The present value would be the deposit of 100 rupees. And for this scenario, we have 1 plus I as 1 plus 10 over 100. 10% as a fraction would be 10 over 100, and to the power of 2. 1 over 10 would be 0.1, and to the power of 2. 1.1 to the power of 2. 100 multiplied by 1. I converted 1.1 to a fraction, that will be 11 over 10. Because this number is squared, I have simply repeated the value or the fraction of 11 over 10. So we have 11 over 10 multiplied by 11 over 10, which is equal to 1.1 to the power of 2, and we simply need to work this out. We can cancel out the two zeros here, which means we now have 1 multiplied by 11, 1 multiplied by 11 multiplied by 11. This would give you an amount of 121. And this is the answer for question number 16. Question number 17 says the second and third terms of a geometric progression are 6 and 18. This says term 1, so t1, comma 6 and then 18. This is a progression. Let's first understand the general term of a geometric progression. We know the nth term of a geometric progression can be found using the formula that is AR n minus 1. We can apply this to the second and third terms, as 6 is your second term, 18 is your third term. I can write this as T2 equals A in this case is your first term, R would be the common ratio, which we do not know, and n minus 2 in this case would be 2 minus 1. This 1 equals to 6. This means we have AR equals 6. Using the same formula, we can write for term 3 as AR 3 minus 1, which is equal to 18. When you evaluate this, we have AR to the power 2 equals 18. Part 1, we need to find the common ratio, which means you need to eliminate the term A, or the first term. To label the two equations as equation 1, I'm going to divide equation 2 by equation 1. When we have a geometric progression, there is no point of subtracting equations. Instead, we need to divide in order to eliminate the unknowns. Equation 2 divided by equation 1 is what I do. Hence, I have AR to the power 2 divided by AR on the left hand side, and on the right hand side, equation 2 divided by equation 1 would be 18 over 6. The a's will cancel out, and we r squared divided by r would be equal to r, and 18 over 6 would be equal to 3. Hence your common ratio would be equal to 3. To find the first term, you can use your value of r equals 3 and plug into any of the two equations. Consider equation 1. A is what we will find, r is equal to 3 equals to 6. Always choose the easiest equation to find your answer, and in this case A would be equal to 6 divided by 3, which is equal to 2. For question 18, we need to solve the inequality of 1 minus 2x less than or equal to 7. I will add 2x to both sides, so we have 1 less than or equal to 7 plus 2x, and for the next step I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides, so we have 1 minus 7 less than or equal to 2x. That will be negative 6 less than or equal to 2x. Now to find the value of x, or to make x the subject of the inequality, we can divide both sides by 2, which means we have x greater than or equal to negative 3. You can simply write x first, hence x is greater than or equal to negative 3. Furthermore, in terms of a number line, see the dot on negative 3 is being colored as this inequality involves a equal sign. We move to the right as x is greater than or equal to negative 3. Question number 19 involves the Cartesian plane, which says if the straight line given by the equation y equals 2x plus c passes through the point 1, 5, then find the value of c. That is your initial value, or it is also known as the y-intercept. The slope in this case is 2. We simply need to substitute the values of x and y. Initially we have y equals 2x plus c, and I'm going to plug in my values of x and y. That will be 5 and 1. Make sure that you plug in your values of x and y in the correct places, and then you can find your initial value, or in this case the value of c. 5 equals 2 times 1, that's 2 plus c, and I can subtract 2 from both sides. That will be 5 minus 2 equals c, and c in this case is 3. For question number 20, we need to find the value of x with the information given in the following figure. Triangle CDB is an isosceles triangle as the sides of DC and BC are congruent, means angle D and angle B should be equal to one another. Since line GF and AC are parallel, angle F here is equal to angle A here, as they are alternate angles. The more you need to understand that angle A and angle B would be equal as they are corresponding angles. So if we find angle B, then we already know the answer to the value of x. So let's find out what this angle is. We have been already given that angle C is 20. Since this is angle x, this also would be x, this would be x, and this also would be x. Consider triangle DBC. I'm going to consider the sum of all the interior angles. We have x plus 20 equals 180. You can add the like terms, that's 2x, and you can subtract 20 from both sides, that will be 180 minus 20. We'll rewrite it as 2x equals 180 minus 20, that will be 160. And if you isolate x, it will be equal to 160 divided by 2, which is equal to 80. Hence the value of x would be 80 degrees. Question 21, we need to find the values of x and y from the given matrices. We'll convert the two matrices into a single matrix. You need to carefully add the values respectively. For the first value, we have -1 plus 3, and then we have 0 plus 2, then we have x plus 0, and finally we have y plus x, which means on the left hand side we have 2, x and y plus x. On the right hand side we have to multiply the scalar of 2 by the matrix of 1, 1, 2, 6, which gives us 2, 2, 4, 12. Next, you need to compare your matrix on the left hand side with the matrix on the right hand side, and you need to equate the elements respectively. You can see the first row has both 2 and 2, and if you consider the second row, the LHS has x, and on the right hand side we have 4, which means we have x equals 4. Up next we have y plus x on the left hand side is equal to 12. Y plus x from the left hand side equals to 12 on the right hand side, and x equals 4. To isolate y or to find the value of y, I would subtract 4 from both sides, which means 12 minus 4 would be equal to 8. Hence your values of x and y would be 4 and 8 respectively. In question 22, it is given the circumference of the base of a cone is 16 pi centimeters. Find the radius of the base. As you know, the base of a cone is a circle. We need to find the radius. Formula to find the circumference of a circle equals 2 pi r, and the circumference is equal to 16 pi. To isolate r, what we can do is to divide both sides by 2 pi, and when you divide both sides by 2 pi, you get the radius as 8. In this case, your units should be centimeters. For part 2, need to find the perpendicular height if the slant height is equal to 10 centimeters. For this, we can construct a right triangle. I will represent the perpendicular height as h and the slant height as 10. Radius of the circle, which would be the base of this triangle, which we found to be 8. Now using the Pythagorean theorem, we can find the value of h. That will be equal to h square equals 10 square minus 8 square. H would be equal to 100 minus 64, and then we can find the square root of this value. When you find the square root, you usually get the positive and the negative value, but in this case you should omit the negative value as h is a dimension and it is a scalar quantity, which means it has to be greater than 0. 100 minus 64 would be equal to 36, so square root of 36. Hence the height of the cone would be equal to 6 centimeters. In question 23, using the knowledge on equiangular triangles and the information given in the figure, find the value of x. You can use proportions to compare two triangles. The larger triangle, the opposite side of the angle 35 would be x, and in the smaller triangle, the opposite side of angle 35 would be 6. Next, I will compare the sides opposite to the angles labeled on the figure. Opposite to the angle labeled in red is 10 centimeters. That will be the addition of 6 and 4 here. And then if you consider the smaller triangle, the opposite side to the angle labeled in red would be 5. So 10 over 5. And now if we solve this proportion, we can find the answer to the value of x. And for that, it will be equal to x equals 10 over 5 would be 2 multiplied by the 6 here, that's 2 times 6 equals 12 centimeters. 12 centimeters would be the answer to question number 23. For question number 24, we need to write down an expression in terms of n for the sum of the first n terms of a geometric progression whose first term is 1 and a common ratio is 2. We will now take a look at the general formula to find the sum of a geometric progression. That is, your summation equals a r to the power of n minus 1 over r minus 1. We can now plug in the values to this formula. Sum would now become 1, 2 to the power n, as n is unknown, and the question asks you to find the expression in terms of n. So we have 2 to the power of n minus 1 over 2 minus 1. This gives us the answer. Once you simplify it, we have 2 to the power of n minus 1. This is your answer in terms of n. In question number 25, find the value of x. We know that sine in general is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, and you can now plug in your values accordingly. With respect to angle 30, you need to understand the opposite side would be x and the hypotenuse in triangle ABC would be 12. Hence sine 30 would be equal to x, which is the opposite, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 12. We now have sine 30 equals x over 12. It is given that sine 30 equals half, so which means you can replace sine 30 with half. You can now make x the subject of the equation, which means you can multiply both sides by 12. 12 multiplied by half gives you 6. Hence your answer for part 1 is x equals 6 centimeters. Going on to part 2, we need to find the value of tan theta. We know that tan theta is equal to opposite over the adjacent. With respect to angle theta, the opposite side would be 6 and the adjacent would be 8. Hence tan theta when simplified would be equal to 3 over 4. For question number 26, we need to consider the expansion of x minus y to the power of 3 and then find the value of the given expression. Expansion equals to x to the power 3 minus x squared y plus 3xy squared minus y cubed. As the first term reduces in power, the second term increases in power. As you can see, the power of the first term, that is x, reduces in power in comparison to y, which is the second term, increases in power. Let's now use this expansion in our question. You should now compare the terms with the given statement. Make sure that you clearly understand the comparison, and then upon judgment you can write x equals 24 and y equals 4. In addition to these values, we also have a multiple of 2. Hence your statement would now become 2 multiplied by x minus y, that will be 24 minus 4 to the power of 3. This is equal to 2 multiplied by 20 to the power of 3. 20 to the power of 3 would be equal to 8,000. Hence 2 multiplied by 8,000 would be your final answer, which should be equal to 16,000. Question number 27. A tangent is drawn to a circle at P as shown in the figure. Using the given information, find the value of x. You need to understand, according to the tangent chord theorem, angle TPS would be equal to angle PRS. Using the features of a cyclic quadrilateral, we can understand that angle PQS equals angle PRS. This would be equal to 45. Moving on to the next step, you need to understand angle RQS and angle RPS are equal. This is using the features of a cyclic quadrilateral. This is equal to 25 degrees. For our next step, we will use a sum of angle PQS and RQS to find angle PST. We have now found the angles of P as well as S in the triangle of PST. We now have 2 out of the 3 angles in triangle PST. Hence, in order to find the value of x, we need to subtract the sum of 70 and 45 from 180. Hence, x would be equal to 180 minus 115. This gives us the value of x, which is equal to 65. For question number 28, we have the surface area of a solid sphere of radius 2 centimeters is a centimeter square, and the area of the curved surface of the solid cylinder of the radius and height 2 centimeters each is b centimeter square. Find the value of a over b. I'm going to consider the ratio as a over b. I will plug in the formula for the numerator, which is a, and that will be 4 pi r squared over. For the denominator, we need to plug in the value of the area for a curved surface of a solid cylinder, which will be 2 pi r h. To start off, I can easily cancel the constant of pi from the numerator as well as the denominator. We need to understand the 2 radii would be different, so this is radius 1 and this is radius 2. I can also simplify the 2 numbers of 4 over 2, which is equal to 2. Ratio of a to b would now be equal to 2. The radius of the solid sphere is given as 2 centimeters. You need to make sure that you plug in the given values respectively in the correct positions. This gives the numerator divided by the denominator, which is the second radius times the height. According to the question, the radius and the height of the solid cylinder is equal to 2, so which means we've got 2 multiplied by 2 for the denominator. On simplification, we have 2 to the power of 3 over 2 to the power of 2, which is equal to 2.